Mr. Azad, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for being with me. In this day and age of 24/7 media, especially social media, it looks like something like this, could have always happened. But it's a very ugly, very, very high-profile spat that has taken place, sir. Your views on it? I don't want to ask any leading questions, but one is an IPS officer, the other is an IAS officer, both with a great degree of responsibility and profile within the state. What do you make of this, sir? Very specific allegations being thrown between the both of them.
Coming from the civil services, I think it's actually a real sordid saga. And this kind of a rivalry and bitterness coming out in the open between these two officers is really extremely unfortunate. But the more unfortunate part, Shivarur, is that nobody has read the Riot Act to them. And that means that you cannot do this kind of a dirty linen washing in the public. No matter what differences you have, the government has to stand very firmly behind that order in keeping these people quiet. And I would blame it is the failure of the Chief Secretary and the DGP to rein in these two bureaucrats. Normally, Shiv, in such circumstances, immediately they are called by their respective seniors and asked to put a hold on such, public kind of comments. In this particular case, I feel a lot has been going on social media. In fact, today things have, as you rightly said, have really changed. Today, when the new officers come, they sit on their desks and send their photographs on Twitter and say that they have joined. So they have become extremely, what you call, visible, some of them very, very popular too. But they don't realize that they are not larger than the service itself. And that is why these things are happening on. Secondly, the other point is that the state government seems to be very, very laxed for their own problems. They are facing a lot of problems and therefore somehow they don't want to come administratively hard on such officers. This has unfortunately led to a kind of a laughing stock outside, and this is being talked upon not only by the TV channels but all over when people are saying that two women fighting like this, we have never seen that this would have happened in the services too. Therefore, number one, I think the Chief Secretary and the DGP should call them and ask them to shut up. They have already been transferred, but also there should be caution and there should be some kind of a departmental inquiry against them as to why this kind of a dirty linen has been washed in public.
Obviously, there's a very personal element to what's going on, Mr. Azad. And, I don't want to get into many of the details. You've read about them, but there are allegations of indecent pictures being sent, to male officers. We don't know, whether the husbands are involved. It's become a very personal kind of thing. And it appears to go beyond just, professional differences or allegations of any kind. Because otherwise, one can imagine that in our bureaucracy, by and large, all our bureaucrats are bound by service rules, aware of service rules. They are aware of the damaging effects that can happen from, like you rightly put it, dirty, washing dirty linen in public. When you say the DGP and the Chief Secretary should have read the Riot Act to them, where does this kind of thing actually come from, sir? The fearlessness to go out in the public, fully aware of the possible repercussions that something like this can happen.
As I told you, some of the officers feel that they are larger than the service itself, and they have developed, because of the social media gives them a wrong impression that they are larger than life. I mean, there is, as you said, a code of conduct. You cannot violate the code of conduct. But what is shocking here is that one, even aside from the fact that they are from the services, there is something called a privacy issue. I know that the Privacy Act has the bill has not been enacted, but still there is an IPC, there is a CRPC where you cannot violate somebody else's privacy. So a lot of things which are going on. First, I don't know how it is unknown to these two officers, number one. And number two, the biggest surprise to me is why didn't the state government step in right in the beginning to curb this at the initial stage itself. So I think, the government has lost a lot of credibility because of this. And as you rightly said, before the elections and this kind of an atmosphere where senior officers are fighting like cats and dogs has created a very, very bad impression for the government and these officers too.